You're watching Focus on South Florida.
Welcome back. The book, A Court of Refuge, is the story of the first dedicated mental health court in the United States, as told by its presiding judge, from its beginnings in 1997 to its implementation today in more than 400 courts across the nation. Judge Ginger Lerner-Wren sits on the bench in Broward County, and we are honored to have her here on Focus this morning to talk about her impressive career and what she has accomplished. Thank you for making the time for us.
Udebe, thank you so much for having me.
So let's talk about this, because this is really an innovative and necessary step in the court system to kind of recognize the complexities of mental illness, that maybe not everyone is so cut and dry when it comes to their stories and whether they've committed crimes. Can you talk a little bit about how you kind of came into this?
You know, absolutely. I came to the bench, and in 1997, it's really not quite a new innovation anymore after 20 years, and I came in with specialized skills working in the mental health sphere. And we really recognized that so many families needed help, that their loved ones really needed a judge or judges that understood the complexities of mental illness.
And the figures are staggering. It's something in 44 states, jails and prisons house 10 times more people with mental illness than in state psychiatric hospitals.
It is. It's a tragedy that, you know, because of the criminalization of people with mental illnesses and all kinds of cognitive types of disorders, our jails and prisons literally are de facto psychiatric hospitals, and it's really not necessary, because we know that treatment works if people can get access.
And this not only benefits those people, but it also benefits all taxpayers, right? Explain why.
Without a doubt, because before the court was created, we recognized that there was literally two things happening, largely. Either people were getting trapped in the jail system because judges really didn't know what to do. Our procedures really were not geared toward responding to these problems, or people would just revolve endlessly. They'd get arrested, they'd be released, they'd become homeless, they'd go to emergency rooms, they'd get discharged from hospitals, they'd go back into jails. It was endless.
And so you were seeing the same people over and over again in your courtroom?
Absolutely. And, you know, beyond the suffering, as you say, Udebe, the spending, the waste of taxpayer money is just massive.
So explain to me what exactly is therapeutic jurisprudence.
I would love to. It's a really big term, and the pioneers, you know, regret that, I think, to some extent, but we call it TJ in the field, and very simply, it asks the question, largely, can courts act as therapeutic agents? Can courts heal?
And what's the answer?
The answer is a resounding yes. You know, we know that right here in Miami-Dade in 1989, the first drug court started. And, you know, not too long after that, we recognized that courts have the ability, if they want to apply, you know, therapeutic jurisprudence, that it could offer treatment over punishment. And doesn't that make sense?
And so what does that look like for someone coming in? Let's say you've seen the same person 3 times in your courtroom, clearly mentally ill, or you suspect that that person is mentally ill and has committed maybe some minor offenses. What does that look like? How does the model play through?
Sure, and it is a misdemeanor court, so we do low-level nonviolent crimes, and we do have a clinician embedded right in the courtroom. So we're literally turning our court into a combination of a traditional court, but then it looks like also, you know, we're bringing in mental health services and clinical assessments right into the courtroom. And if somebody, for example, in Florida, we're 49th, 50th funded in mental health in the country, largely people cannot get access to care, or families do not know what to do when they have an adult child and loved one with mental illness. I just got off the phone with a mother this morning, and she had no idea what to do with her son who had schizophrenia.
And so are they assessing the people there? They're actually making diagnoses in the courtroom as these people appear in court before a judge?
We are. We are. I have a clinician that was handpicked. She's been with the court now. Her name is Janice Blendon, licensed clinical social worker. She's been with the court now for 19 years, and she will privately screen. And there's a lot of people, unfortunately, because of the problems we're talking about with access of care, who are getting arrested when, in fact, they may need hospitalization. So if they they need to go to a hospital. We don't want people sitting in a jail cell simply because of their illness.
Right. And what percentage would you say this is?
That go to hospitals? Oh, that people going through a system?
Maybe people who should be going into hospitals.
Estimated 30% sometimes of the people that we see overall that are literally acutely ill. So if somebody has a heart attack, what do? They go into a hospital setting, correct? A healthcare setting. What's the difference with mental illness? It's all health.
And you started this. I think it's so interesting the way this all began. You really were a pioneer in this whole sphere, and you started it in the lunchroom with no. Actually, we started court around the lunch hour. So, for example, and I just want to give credit where credit is due. This is a collaborative with our incredible community, and Howard Finkelstein, who is our Broward County public defender, was the brainchild at the time because of a high-profile case. So we held court kind of squeezing it in, and essentially with I have a regular division as well. So yes, we used to hold court during the lunch hours and then on Thursday afternoons. And how did it grow to be implemented in 400 courtrooms? Well, I think we just hit a tipping point. I think that Broward's awakening, if you will, and this was we needed to do something for our families, and families around the country are experiencing the same thing as we were in Broward County, and literally it almost seemed like the world swooped in, and other jurisdictions, other counties wanted to know what we were doing, how we were doing it, and then Congress legislated monies to spread throughout the country for courts that wanted to pilot mental health courts in 2000. A huge accomplishment, and also not only within the court system, but just to address the stigma of mental illness in general. Absolutely. You know, treatment works, and I think one of the major themes of a Court of Refuge is that families need to know what to do and where to go for help and what works, and that there's hope. And people go back to today. We had somebody in court who's going back to college, and families need to know that treatment works as long as you get access to the right care, you know, as people need individually, and that's really what we need to work on this country. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Quickly, we have your book here, A Court of Refuge, and what is it about besides what we've been talking about? It's also about your personal journey. It is. It's about, you know, listening to those whispers that, you know, tell you that, you know, you should be doing work in a particular way. And when I was working as public guardian for Broward County, families were just coming in one after another, and I knew they needed help finding mental health services for their loved ones, and before you knew it, I had a Court of Refuge. So it's the genesis. It is. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate having you here. Thank you for having me. Congratulations on the book. Thank you. Still ahead, Focus is going to the movies in Overtown next.